NERDSoul.
Lay ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today, oh yeah, another wonderful episode of That's Right, Dope Folks. We got an awesome person up in the building, the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Reeves, 133 Art. What's up?
What's am? What's going on? What's happening?
Oh, not much, man. It's actually good to see you. It's good to have you here, because you out here making them comic book moves. So,
Been a minute.
uh there's we're coming off of like Changa 2. We're coming off of the season release for Kickstarter and everything. And I know there's a lot of people that might be brand new to 133R, to like One Nation, Kid Carvers, whatever. I wanted to take a chance to kind of like back up for some people that might not know and go straight to the source. And I guess start off by saying or asking, what does 133 art mean, or what does it stand for?
It is 133. So 133 comes from is y'all gonna be so disappointed. What comes from the first Hotmail address I ever got, like my first email address.
Oh snap!
I was trying to put in my name, J Reeves, whatever, and they put a 133 behind it, and I don't know, I like the number. So when I was in 2006, way back in the olden days, when I was trying to come up with a name for my freelance company, because way back in the day, I was a freelance illustrator, concept artist. I was like, what should I call it? And then I was like, well, 133 seems like a real solid number. And then obviously I do art, so not a whole lot of thought went into it until my homeboy Adam, shout out to Adam Cook, another fine illustrator, like revamped my logo. And when that swish we have, that paint swish, that's when it really gelled, right? I was like, okay, this is gonna be a real thing. So now 133 art is solid. That's the only. That's
okay.
That's the brand. So,
and that's cool because it is something that kind of like it's nostalgic for you and it's meaningful. It has that that personal meaning every time you look at it. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I remember the olden days.
Well, also I thought it was smart. I always think what I do is smart, but I thought it was smart because in like if it's an alphabetical lineup, then the numbers come first, right? So I was like, maybe you on to something, homeboy, like SEO style.
Nice.
So and then it really grew on me afterward, though. Like just looking at it visually, the 1 and the 3 and the 3 over the art was just visually, aesthetically pleasing for me. And I mean, I'm the kind of dude. I make decisions on the fly, but for the most part, those decisions, when they feel right to me, I just go with them. So it hasn't ever been hard for me to like come up with ideas on that particular level, like on a branding logo type level. Like I'm like, what feels right, and then I put it together. It's not a super long process a lot of times.
All right, slight sidebar. When it comes to business in general, how do you feel about making decisions when it comes to, because some people want to kind of ponder and think about something for a long period of time, or you one of those folks that are like, hey, quick fire, let's get this done, let's answer this, and let's get it out the way?
I'm a quick fire, I think, and you've worked with me. You've seen some of the stuff we do. I like to brainstorm. I like to juxtapose. I like, different aesthetics, cram them together, figure it out. But I think I've always been pretty decisive, even as a kid. I've always been pretty decisive about what I want to do and what I don't want to do.
Okay.
When it comes to the details and figuring it out and siphoning, sifting rather through ideas and through juxtapositions, that's where we might get to a point where we're deliberating. But after that part of the process, I'm pretty quick fire about what I want most of the time.
Continuing on with the knowledge dump and the knowledge base around this, why did you, Mr. Reeves, why did you even start making comic books at all? And then why sell them? Because there are some people that just like to draw, and they're just like, hey, I just draw for myself. And so why draw comics at all? And then on top of that, why add a whole business behind it?
Okay. I've always loved comics. Just like my first love. Superheroes especially are my first love. I love the idea of a selfless person floating down and pulling you out of the fire. That just resonates with me from a kid when I used to watch cartoons every Saturday morning and right before school. The thing that resonated with me the most were the superheroes. So naturally, around 8 years old, 10 years old, through the span of those years, I discovered comic books. Good friend of mine, Mark Lefwich, introduced me to X-Men classics, and it was over. Like Claremont. And I went to my first comic shop in New Orleans called The Bookworm. Shout out to Miss Pauline, one of my favorite people, one of the people that put me on this track. She was the owner of The Bookworm, and she used to just look at our art, and she loved us so much. And she even sold our early comics. So from that time, like, I was in heavy to comics. Like, from 10 years old, I knew that I wanted to draw comics for a living. I've been drawing since I was like a baby. I was like 3-4 years old when I picked up my first pencil and did my first drawing. I used to draw Michael Jackson, and my mom used to doodle when she was on the phone, so I just mimicked her. And the kitchen table was where I loved to be, just drawing and creating. So, I've always known that I wanted to do that. That's always been my aspiration. Now, getting there, that was the figuring it out, sifting through the juxtapositions and brainstorming part. But I've always known that I wanted to do comics. Did I answer your question?
Now, on the other side of selling comics, you also print comics, because like you the man for a whole lot of people. There's a lot of people that get their books through you wouldn't even be able to like ship them around if it wasn't for you. Where did the addition of the printing side of 133 art and all of that, the comics that you have to make yourself, where did that part come in?
That came in 2012. So, like I said earlier, I was a freelancer, just doing like concept art, doing, book covers, anything I get my hands on, essentially, just to make the ends meet and stuff like that. And I had moved to California a few years prior, and I was living like, living check to check, job to job, trying to stay afloat. Listen, it was crazy. Don't get me wrong, my job is fun. My job is, a lot of times it's not like a job, right? Especially if the business aspect of it right. And I've been learning to do that the entire time. I'm not perfect. I don't consider myself the Jay-Z kind of businessman. I'm not gonna write Art of the Deal or no craziness like that. But
oh boy.
But I'm a person that learns as they go. I do before I know I can do it. I say yes before I know I can execute. That's just the kind of
I understand that.
So in 2012, I just had this like this want. I mean, I've always wanted to do it, but the want to create comics and my own personal comics too. We just started 133 Art as a comic publishing company. One Nation, our first title, and in 2012 that came out like late summer 2012, and there was no foreseeable avenue for us to print the book in the amount of capital we had for to start the company, and the volume that we could sell. Because we're fresh. I didn't know if I could sell 10 copies at a show, right? And everywhere I looked, it was like, even if you go to Canada or you go to China, you have to order, upwards of like 500 to 1,000 books to get a good read. And I was like, there's just no way I can afford to do that right now. Like, again, I'm job to job. I'm a freelancer. Yeah. I've been a freelancer full time since 2007. So like, couldn't afford it. So Kemi and my wife, is the co-owner, my partner in life, my partner in business of 133 Art. And she's brilliant. And she said, why don't you just print the books yourself? And I was like, man, I don't even know how to print comics. Like, even online at the time, there wasn't a lot of info on how they printed comics or how you could
there is a very seemingly strong veil around the production aspect.
Yeah, it's limited. Even now, it's still limited. Like, even though there are people like me who are sort of trying to demystify it when we talk about it, especially when I talk to my peers, I'm like, yo, you can do it. So we went on an information hunt, man. We just dove in and were like, I'm gonna figure out, because you know how books are printed, like you have an idea of it. I mean, you've seen Sesame Street, and you've seen books being printed. Even like the intro to Perfect Strangers, there's newspapers flying through or something like that.
Or like even when you visit, something like Staples or Kinko's or FedEx, right, whatever, you see the machine and you see paper come out of it.
Right. So you have an inkling of how it could or should be done, I guess. And so we started there with what we already kind of knew. And then she's not a comic person at all. So I know comics, through and through, like the back of my hand. So I was like, okay, so we need some way to staple them, some way that is not gonna like have us pouring over them with a little stapler. And I think I've like had to figure out what a saddle stitch machine was. You can see a couple of them back there behind me. And I had to figure out where to buy that. Thankfully, Amazon. What up, Amazon? What up, Bezos? I would scour eBay, I would scour Amazon, and every time I figured out what kind of equipment was needed, she and I would like go on the internet trying to find it. eBay, also dope resource to find equipment. And we made an investment of about, I want to say $1,200, $1,200 to $1,600. I want to say. I got one saddle stitch machine at the time. That was about $150. I got a laser printer, almost like a desktop. It was a little bit bigger than a normal desktop. It was an HP. That thing was like $600 to $800. Kemi found that one on eBay. We got a paper cutter, which is, you've seen it, like they're little ones in school. You shoot. But we got one, for maybe $300, maybe a little less, and that was my operation. And at the time, I didn't have a printer that printed front and back, like each side of the paper.
Oh, so you had to print and then bring it back and then print again?
The garage, print the first page, flip, and make sure you have to flip it properly, because it'll be reversed if you don't. And I would sweat it out in the garage. And One Nation #1, the first run of One Nation #1 is me sweating it out in the garage, just pushing paper through and flipping it over, dude. Like, and we used to get ready for shows, and when like say like LA Comic Con or something's coming up, and I'd be sweating the night before, like I get copies, that kind of thing. So we made like an initial investment, $1,200 to $1,600, something like that, and we got our first run of equipment. And we got a paper folder as well. Big paper folder. and you run the printed pages through it, and it folds them, and then you can take it to the saddle stitch machine and staple it. So that was my first round of equipment. 2012, sweating it out. So that's what made us decide, once we really figured out the equipment, and once we figured out how to do it affordably, we were printing. And at first we only printed for 133 Art. At first, just all of our books were the in-house books. And then I want to say 4 years later, in 2016, then we thought about it, and we're like, many of your peers, print on demand just wasn't where it is now. And we were like, the people, people in the industry who need books for shows. Like, why don't you offer those services? You can put a little money in your pocket, and you can also, make sure your homie had 30 books for the show as well. And he doesn't have to go to China, or he doesn't have to, pull out absorbent amounts of money. So Kemi, figured out the math, with me telling her, okay, this is what this comic should cost, blah, blah. And once we figured out sort of steady price ranges and stuff, we created 133 Art Printing. So that was the second wing, or rather the third wing of 133 Art as a company. There's a freelance illustration wing. 2012 we went comics, and then later 16 we go printing. So 3 wings so far.
Nice. Okay, cool. Then I guess off of that, since you've continually built upon it, I guess the question is, what is the goal or the mission statement of 133 Art? And then with that, has it changed at all throughout the years?
Interesting. That's a good question.
I try.
What is our mission statement? I want to say 133 Art has a passion for storytelling, and we're dedicated to showcasing the depth and complexity. Okay, 133 Art has a passion for storytelling, and we're dedicated to showing the depth and the complexity of the Black comics experience, right? All of our main characters are Black gods, Black superheroes, Black protagonists and antagonists. And we really just want to make sure that we provide the inclusivity for our people in these wild fantasy narratives, right? Like in sci-fi, in fantasy, in superhero comics. Like, I want to see myself and the rest of you guys in that space. So that's our mission statement. That's our focus.
Cool. To follow up off of that, you're quoted in saying, I wanted to draw people that saved people. And strangely enough, they saved me. Could you elaborate on that?
Okay. I wanted to draw Black people that saved Black people. You read comic books, and look, comics, again, superhero comics are my favorite. I love it. But you rarely see Black people coming in, stepping in on behalf of other Black people and saying, let me take you out of the fire. You rarely see that. Usually, when it's a Black character, unless we're doing it, unless the Black comics community is doing it, the Black character is saving everybody. You kind of get this all lives matter vibe when it comes to specifically a Black character. And while that may be good for the mainstream companies because they want to catch all and get as much, they want to be as broad as they possibly can, I have the agility to be a niche comic book company, right? I have the agility to just focus on Black characters saving Black people. And not in a way that excludes other people, because there are other nationalities, other races and whatnot in our comics. We tell the story of a wide world, but our focus is on black characters saving black characters. Black people saved me, right? Like, black people grew me, they raised me. So why would I not tell those particular stories, right?
Gotcha.
When it comes to narratives, when it comes to storytelling, that's what I choose to focus on as a company and as a creative in general. Like, I want to see us, because it's been very sparse. People waiting for other people to provide us with us.
Yeah,
so
I understand exactly what you mean.
In 2012, I wasn't waiting anymore, right? Like, I learned to draw white folk before I learned to draw myself, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I created characters, when I was a kid, I saw through the lens of Marvel Comics. I saw Spider-Man and Captain America. And at one point, when I started to mature, I wondered, like, why is it not me? Like, you're 13, 14, 15 reading Spawn, and you're like, Spawn don't never show up in the hood, right? Every problem that he solves is on behalf of somebody that's not me, right? Same for Luke Cage. You know what I'm saying? Same for almost any black character created, and I'm sure that rings true for other nationalities and races as well when we're looking toward mainstream comics for our content and for our edification. You're like, you reading the story and you're like, oh man, it's going down in New York, and they never show up in Harlem.
They don't never be in Harlem. They don't never be like in the Bronx or Brooklyn or nothing. That joint be Midtown Manhattan like every day.
Right. More specifically to me, I'm from New Orleans. Whenever a story takes place in New Orleans regarding like a hero or a main character, they never show up where I'm at. It's always like, you always see the French Quarter, and then you might see, the Superdome, but you don't never see the hood, And I know it's almost cliche to say, in a sense of black creators have been on the rise, so we keep saying that because that is a lot of our stories, but that's the story. That's why we keep saying it, because they don't never show up where you at. So I was like, man, look, when I create superheroes, when I create protagonists, they're going to be where I'm at or where I was.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So speaking about New Orleans, where you from? What about New Orleans has informed your art, your journey, your path personally, or through your business, whether it be printing or with comic books?
Hustle culture influences one. I was raised by hustlers, so I have this thing where I again, like I said, I say yes before I know I can do it, and I'm saying yes to a lot of different things because, you never know when it's going to be a drought. So you got to take it when it is. And so that hustle culture has always been a sort of guiding light for me as a businessman. More so now than before, New Orleans influences me because I don't live in New Orleans anymore. I live in California now, and because sometimes you look around where you end up and you like, man, I miss home a little bit, or there's just nuances of home that you want to see sprinkled around, or I'll hear like some Rebirth brass band on a commercial or something, and I'll just it feels like home, right? So the influences now are me adding and sprinkling New Orleans culture into the comics and setting the books in New Orleans, or setting, the setting of a lot of the books are New Orleans now. So now I get to go back home and sift through my memories as well, and kind of figure out, man, what do I want to put inside these different books. It was so exciting to me to do Stronghold #2, right? And the main character in Stronghold, Damien Stronghold, he's a super powered LGBTQ albino man. He's half black, half white, and he goes back in #2, and there's a second line, and he's like doing the footwork in the second line, and that was such a proud moment in my comic career, because I got to put a piece of New Orleans, like a big piece, a showy piece, into one of our books, you know. And I think ever since that moment, like, I had to explain to Greg, shout out to Greg Lise, writer of Stronghold. I had to explain to Greg and Antonello Costantino, shout out to Antonello, artist of Stronghold. I had to explain to them what a second line was and how it worked. And, you know, I had to pull videos from YouTube and stuff like that.
Matter of fact, to that point, for those who might not have seen it, like maybe something like Treme, or, you know, something centered around New Orleans culture, what is second line?
So second line is is basically a funeral procession. But when people die in New Orleans, there are a couple of things that are specific to New Orleans. First, they're buried above ground. And when people die, it's more of a celebration. So the second line is a celebration. Usually you're walking on the street, and it's like a big group of people, and you're dancing and they're playing music, and people are celebrating your life, you know, rather than your death. So it's essentially a celebration within a funeral procession. Beautiful. And yeah, you've seen it on like Treme, you've seen it on YouTube, you know, you can look it up on YouTube, but there's a lot of dancing and almost New Orleans specific dancing. You know, that's the footwork is New Orleans stuff, man. You got to get your feet moving, man. You got to and you get the kids involved, and it's really really dope. So
that's something that I've seen that kind of pulls back from our ancestors, because I've seen I have some family members that lived in Ghana for a long time, and they passed, and they brought their bodies back for a funeral here, but a delegation from Ghana came, and the way they laid my cousins to rest was very, very different than the sort of like American funeral. It was beautiful. The song, the dance, the music, it was very celebratory. Like, this is someone that we love that is moving on, you know, to the next phase, to the next step in their journey. It wasn't like this very sad and sorrowful thing. It was like jubilation. And I was just like, wow, I want my funeral to be like this. I don't want, like, this is awesome. Can we like always do this? Like, so.
But it's like saying, man, we had you, and when you were here, we enjoyed you, and we're gonna send you off like in the best way possible, you know. And that's one part of the culture. And I believe, like, of course, it comes from Africa, right? Like, of course. That's pretty much everything comes from the practices. Some of them we lost, a lot of them we kept, passed down, whatever comes from Africa. So of course, yes, it's a celebration of life that comes from, you know, the motherland. So yeah, it's dope to be able to put that and showcase that in a book. Like, I'm glad that I'm to the point in my career when I could do that. You know, that was a high point for me.
Word. And on sidebar, I believe you, and then maybe, well, Keith and Mark aren't from New Orleans, but you three are probably the first people that I've known from Louisiana, and due to you three, I've actually been to Louisiana now. Like actually been there. I went to Baton Rouge. I was actually in there, and then through that I met a professional gamer that lives like right outside of New Orleans. So like you have been kind of like the entry point to Louisiana. Even though when I drove back home from LA, I stayed in Shreveport. I was told that Shreveport is just East Texas, so they don't really count. So so I also went to Baton Rouge for the Mid City Microcon, and I actually enjoyed it, and I was there. I want to go back, give me some more food, but yeah, and then actually get to New Orleans one time too, and then actually enjoy Louisiana. You know,
Yes. We went back home earlier this summer, and it was fun, man. Like it was a good trip.
Cool,
So, yeah.
cool. To a lot of what makes 133 Art so unique is the acceptance of blackness. Like you are like, hey, I'm black. You don't seem to be like pretending that you're not black or like scared to say that you're black, or you know, those people that are black, but it seems that you're black only to get on so you can quickly be something else. To you, what is black owned, and what does it mean to be black owned?
I feel like, to me, black owned means, well, the obvious definition is a person that's black, that identifies as black, you know, that was born of black people, owns the company. I believe it's a culture that's celebrated in this country, but not celebrated in the sort of formal, like business like ways. Like I feel like we're not allowed is such a stupid word. We haven't come to a point in the country where we're celebrating us in all aspects of the country, like politically, you know, financially, you know, in schools, whatever. Like, and I went to an all-black magnet school. Shout out McDonough 35, Ron Eagles. Whoa. So I've, you know, both of my parents are Jamaican. So they black too. Everybody I grew up around, you know, black. Like I've had a lot of blackness instilled in me, you know, whether that's hood, whether that's, you know, pro-black, whether that's, you know, Muslim, you know, Christian, you know, black, Baptist black, you know what I'm saying? So I've had a lot of aspects of our culture instilled in me since birth. You know, I can talk about the immigrant experience. I can talk about being a church boy. I can talk about, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't go to HBCU, but 35 is almost like a precursor to a HBCU. So like the students are black, the teachers are black, the principal is black. You know,
I wish I went there.
So it's like sort of getting the you know, the pre-HBCU experience. So I've always held us in high regard. I was always taught to hold us in high regard, our cultures and everything. And I feel like it's almost like I overdo it just because I feel like we're not celebrated enough in every aspect of Western culture, right? Like, it's like when I watch anime, right? Anime is straight up Japanese culture, right? Like, there's references to things that I just will not or cannot understand, not having been born Japanese or not having lived in Japanese culture enough to absorb that stuff. And it's dope though, right? Like I was watching Demon Slayer last night, and they go to the Infinity Castle, and I'm like, I know there's things in that scene that I just won't get because I'm not absorbed in Japanese culture. I'm not Japanese, so I can enjoy it just the same, right? even the idea that I don't know necessarily cultural wise, I still enjoy it because it's something fresh, it's something new, and it's cool to experience that. And I want that with Black culture for for everybody too. Like I want people to jump into a 133 art book and you might not understand what's going on in the second line. Why are these people so happy that this person is dead? You know? But because you're absorbing it and because you're finally introduced to it, it's new, it's fresh, and it's fun. You're like, yo, that's dope. And that's maybe it'll make you delve into our culture a little bit more, right? So that's what I think of when I think of Black owned. Being able to infuse us into business, into corporate America or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Into financial institutions. Like wherever Black people are, we should be able to put Black culture into that thing because it always makes it better. It always enriches, right?
Nice.
So I really, I have a unique opportunity to be able to do that with my company. So that's kind of what Black owned means to me. Infusing myself, infusing our culture into company culture, you know, into entrepreneurial culture. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
All right. Well, to wrap up, because that was my last serious question. But to wrap up, when it comes to 133 art, you have titles that have been created, that are now ongoing, that are getting to go into the next phase. What titles are you rocking with right now? What are you guys bringing out? What do you have in the market? And is there a universe in 133 art, or is everything kind of like separate and in their own place, but they all are kind of like running under the banner of 133 art?
It's a little bit of both. So what I start with what titles we're rocking with now. Right now, it's an exciting time for 133 art. First of all, what we're rocking with now is definitely One Nation. Arc 1 of One Nation is finished right now. The first complete story for One Nation is done. One Nation series proper 1 through 4. And then we have a lot of ancillary One Nation titles that explore more of the universe or expound more on character interactions and experiences. So One Nation Arc 1 is what I'm calling it. Consists of One Nation number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then One Nation Safe House and One Nation The Gauntlet. Those 6 issues comprise Arc 1. And I'm very proud of it because I've been writing this thing. I came up with this thing in 2006, right? I'm sitting on a bus and Gil Scott Heron is just going over and over in my head. And it's like the revolution will not be televised. And I'm like, yo, what if no one's ever written a book? This is like pre-Authority, pre-Ultimates, that interventionist superhero hype. And I'm like, or right in the cusp of it, you know? And I'm like, no one's ever done that with Black superheroes. I gotta go there. And so it was first called The Revolution, but now it's called One Nation. So it's been a long time coming, and we're finally through Arc 1. And it's the beginning of Paragon and the 10th story. And we're very proud of it.
Nice,
the last issue, One Nation number 4, Riot to Uprising. Riot versus Uprising is the subtitle. And that's essentially what it is. Like, what is a riot to an uprising? You know? And how do we infuse Black superheroes into that? And what would they do being Black superheroes? So we're excited about Arc 1. It's all available at 133 Art. It's all available on our Facebook shop. It's available at our TikTok shop. Soon we'll have a Square shop that'll be available at. So you can get it a wide range of places. If you want to get everything, we got digital and print issues, you know, go to 133 Art. 133art.com. Ka-ching. But so we're really into this first arc. We're really pumping this first arc of One Nation right now. Amazing art on it. I did the first 2 issues. Mario Torrisi did the last 2 issues of the series proper. Samak Shaman. Who else? Who is on? That's on the cover of Safe House. One Nation the Gauntlet. Oh man. Matteo Illuminati. You know what I'm saying? Massimiliano Veltri. Like, there's some bad artists.
They got some crazy art in those books.
Yeah, they wild. Shout out to Just Havoc, our letterer. Girl, you good. You good. So that we just did a fire run on Redcon with 3 issues in on Redcon. Main character just got beat up on a cliffhanger. Sorry, y'all. I don't mean to ruin it, but it's funny to me. But check out Redcon. It's a sci-fi time travel book. And we're working on issue 4 right now. Shout out to Jordi Perez, our artist, and Robert Jeffrey Lord. He's our writer. You know, chomping at
that boy
bit.
Be writing.
That's that man right there, man. What else are we rocking? We're behind the scenes. We're back on The Crossing. That's our second sci-fi series about multiversal travel. It is about Dr. James Kincaid, who's a fugitive on the run with his daughter through the multiverse. That's basically what it's about. And we're working with Mario again on issue 2, and hopefully we'll have some news about the further adventures of Dr. James Kincaid and his daughter Carla. So we're pushing that. I've been doing art, more freelance stuff. I just did the cover of Visions 2 for MV Media. What else? I'm about to do a run on Kid Carvers.
Nice.
Crazy. I want to finish that one and collect it.
A little something for the kids.
Yeah. And for the Kickstarter supporters of the season pass Kickstarter, they're gonna get a activity book in issue 3. So we're working on that actively right now. We got one more issue of One Nation coming out. One Nation number 5 will end the Kickstarter books, and that is 70% done right now. It's in the coloring and lettering stages. It's a beautiful looking book, and it's another story. Shout out to Robert Jeffrey who wrote it. It's another story that kind of expands on the universe. It starts our second arc, which is only going to be like roughly 3 issues long, but it's another milestone for us because I don't want to spoil too much, but One Nation issue 6 is where you really get it, Okay. So, and that's about to be colored. Shout out to Walt, who colored issue number 3 as well, 3 and 4, and he was doing a crazy job right there. So yeah, we're pushing those, and then there are going to be 2 art books by the end of the year. Back in the J, which is a re-release of my old art book, the art of Jason Reeves and 1 through 3 art volume 1, and then Suja, the art of Jason Reeves 1 through 3 art volume 2. What else? I got a couple.
Y'all got some heat.
I got some heat, man. I've been diversifying myself. I
diversifying your bonds.
I got a freelance writing job with Scholastic. But I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about what is coming, but it's coming. I'm very excited about that. Me and Spin chilling out, you know what I'm saying, hanging out. We've been having the dialogue back and forth, but be quiet. And one more thing, couple more things actually. We got some books that we're preparing for 2025. We got some collaborations with other companies that we're gonna be playing around with in 2024 and 25.
Okay.
You know, I'm constantly working. There's always something to do around here.
Nice. That's what's up. All right. Well, you know what? Thank you. First, thank you for rolling through. Thank you for coming out. You know, I know your time is very valuable. You know, you got things to do. But of course, before we get out of here, tell the wonderful people where they can find you.
You can find me at 133art.com. That is the hub. Then you can find us. There's a couple of new places you can find us. I'll go through the new places. You can find us on Sky at 133art Publishing. You can find us on ArtStation 133art on ArtStation as well. That's more of a concept art page that we're displaying like our ideas and kind of showcasing our concept art skills. What else? You can find us on LinkedIn, 133art, at 133art on Instagram, at 133art Publishing on Facebook. There are stores there. You can buy our wares there. And I think that's all. Oh, we're on X. No, on X.
On X.
I don't remember my sign in on X, so yeah, I'm trying to find me on X.
Well, all right. That's what's up. Thank you for rolling through. Until the next time that you guys need a One Nation book, a Kid Carver's book, I don't know, the Stronghold, Retcon, you know, any of these books, The Crossing, even over the stuff like Changa or Strong or the Pac Samson.
I didn't talk about Changa. Changa 3 is in the works. We just got all the line work back from Changa 3 from Mateo. It's about to go into the coloring stage. So nice. Changa 3 is coming super soon.
Cool. That's what's up. Well, of course, until the next time, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, podcast, all that jazz. Until the next time that you, in fact, have to save the city, it's from us to you saying peace.
Peace.